How you doing, Bo?
Good. Great to see you again, Van. How's your Friday?
My Friday's going great. I'm Van Papadopoulos with Milestone and joined here with Bo Bloomer of Century 21 Redwood in Northern Virginia. We're doing a nice session here on what's happening in the home buying world and world of residential lending and residential finance and residential home purchasing. So thrilled to be with you all and talking about this. Milestone is a home buyer education program. We're a lot more than that. We give you strategy and approaches to being highly successful in your home buying journey. Our mission is very simple. We want to make you a lot of money in your home ownership, your home purchase endeavors, and set you up for great success for many years to come. So talking here with Bo Bloomer, who's a terrific real estate partner of mine for some time and operates heavily in the DC and Northern Virginia areas. Very knowledgeable and experienced. And we got a lot of fun things, excellent things relevant to your home buying endeavors to talk about today. So Bo, what do you think about Milestone and how does that relate to your home buyers?
Thanks again for making this possible, Van. This is a really great opportunity. I think that the number one thing that really schwacks first-time home buyers is the immediacy and the need to jump through hoops to get something done. We're all products of the environment. We have short attention spans, and we'll be driving down the road and we see a sign, a home for sale sign, and oh wow, something shiny, let's see that, and well, maybe let's think about buying it without any real pre-planning, without any real thought of, well, hey, I've got some credit issue, I may have some debt issues, maybe I need to get a couple things straight with family finances. Did I do my taxes this year? All of those things are really essential, particularly as you're about ready to make your family's biggest financial investment. So I'm really happy about this, Van, because as you know, I'm trying to send you lots of clients to say, even if you're going to be buying a house in 6 months or a year, or heck, maybe a couple of years, getting your homework done, getting all of your ducks in a row, if you will, early, so that if you happen to see something that you really are freaking out over, you're going to be ready to go. And oh, by the way, while we may be in a quarantine pandemic right now, the real estate market is hot and heavy. And, in Northern Virginia and DC particularly, things go very, very, very quickly. Right now, they're going even faster. So this is the reason why folks really need to have done their homework. So I think it's great because I've got many first-time home buyers that need to do their homework up front. So having them steering them towards you to allow them to get all their homework done up front, getting ready to go is really smart.
Well, I think in this day and age, it's really, really important. You mentioned kind of like the fast pace of home buying. I think a lot of it has to do with social media and the advent of Zoom and other, or not just Zoom, but Zillow, Zoom, and other tools that sort of give people perspectives on homes before they even get out there to actually see a house physically.
Exactly.
And as you know, Bo, this is a very emotional process, buying a house, right? And once you get introduced to the idea, as well as kind of actually seeing the physical home you might be living in, it sort of fast tracks the process in a way that historically didn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so what I've seen is folks, starting casually looking on Zillow and Trulia and other places, really just with the idea of just sort of getting an idea, but then wind up getting interested in a house, clicking on it, right? Getting introduced to a real estate agent very quickly who calls, gets them excited about going to see the house. Next thing you know, they're on the fast track to home purchasing, right?
Yeah.
So there's good and bad to that, right? I mean, on the one hand, it's good that we've got tools to facilitate that. But the bad side, the downside, is that for some people, that's too fast of a process. And they're sort of fast tracked to home ownership before they're ready. And the last thing we want, Bo, you could comment on this, but last thing that we want as an industry is people that buy a house, seem happy, but then a few months down the road are like, what the hell did I do?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. I am continually, fearful of some client of mine giving me a call, a couple weeks or a month or something after purchasing a home to say, look, Bo, why did you let me purchase this place? I want to make sure that folks are super happy for the long term. I'm not just here for the one sale. I'm here to help them with their kids, help their kids buy homes, their friends and family. So I want to make sure that, everybody's set up really, really, really well. Actually, while you were talking, Van, I was just thinking about HGTV. We can also blame some of those shows because folks will be watching some of these shows and say, oh, wow, I could buy that house for this amount of money. Or, hey, they get the bug. They want to go do some project. They want to purchase a fixer-upper, live in it for 2 years, fix it up and sell it. So those are also really incentivizing individuals to get out there in the market. I don't know, I would like to take 2 seconds if we could to talk about, hey, what's going on with the market right now? With the pandemic, coronavirus, what does it mean? We talk about how the market is still moving really, really quickly, but how do they do that? How are folks managing selling homes or buying homes? So I did want to say that one, the market is great for sellers and buyers for a couple different reasons. One, traditionally we have had a lower inventory through winter months. But we're in spring now, and we're still in a very, very, very low, tight inventory. Matter of fact, truthfully, it's been that way for about 1.5 years or so, which means that, if you're a seller, you're in a great position because there's not a lot of stuff on the market, supply and demand, and you're going to get lots of traffic on your home. And if it's priced appropriately, and if you have a great real estate agent who is making sure that you're pricing it smartly, it's going to go very quickly and you're not going to leave money on the table. Likewise, on the flip side, in that same market, which is so great to sellers, it's also great for buyers. Because what I'm sure you'll tell everybody, Van, with the market the way it is right now, interest rates are still very low. A little bit of volatility there about 2 weeks ago. But I think that with the interest rates where they are right now, folks are wanting to spend. And it's a great opportunity to buy. Now, if you realize that you want to sell or if you want to buy, you think to yourself, well, I'm not going to go out of my house. What if somebody sneezes on me or something? We are doing things smartly. We're making sure that folks are really looking upfront at the photos, videos online, making sure they really get a good sense of the floor plan. Technology is amazing. You've probably seen the VR headsets, and you can actually walk through a house, and we call it the dollhouse or a 3D tour. And you can kind of walk through the whole house and see everything. Short of smelling or touching, you're almost there.
Are you actually utilizing that? Are you walking through houses with those funny goggles on?
I have. But what we're also doing, that's a great segue, is that we're getting PPE'd up, with the appropriate masks, appropriate gloves. I've only been into one home where somebody lives in within the last couple of weeks. Most of the homes are all vacant, and appropriately, you can probably appreciate that, where you don't want to really compromise somebody else's health. So going in and seeing things, I'll go in first before my clients. I'll open everything, turn all the lights on so they can virtually walk in and they won't touch anything, which is kind of cool. And so that's kind of where we are. Folks are able to then, if they've been working closely with their mortgage lender like you, to put a great offer together and move forward. And then down the road, we can smartly continue on with the home sale process in this environment, inspections, etc.
So that sounds awesome. It sounds very positive and optimistic. And I want to talk a little bit about that because the rest of the country, and here as well. I mean, we're all going through a pandemic, right? People have lost their jobs. It's a very difficult environment out there. And we've seen this back in 2008, 2009 in some respects. And we know that the market conditions were not favorable for several years after that. And so there's a lot of concerns today about that, right? And I want to talk about, though, one thing in particular, and that is we're in a pretty darn unique area, okay? Back in 2008, 2009, I was up in New Jersey and New York markets. That's where I was working. And things sort of plummeted and didn't come back for quite some time. I moved down a couple years later to the DC area, and I was shocked about how strong, relatively speaking, the market down here was. Bo, you've been in here, been in this area for a while. So explain kind of, how is and why is the DC metro market so different? And, why shouldn't people be concerned about plunging home prices and things like that?
Yeah. Well, that's a really good question. Interestingly, when you look across the country, I think that we're number 12 with respect to all major metropolitan areas for people coming in and going. So when people move to a location, those are tracked. Numerous different industries pay attention to that. Real estate, the moving companies track that as well. So we're number 12 with respect to the numbers of people coming and going, which is key, is that we're in a positive influx, meaning we got more people coming in to the area than departing. So if you think of some small dinky town somewhere else where people are, heading for the hills, not so much here. So then you add several other key environmental factors. One, DC. The amount of government individuals, every attorney in the world has got to come here within their career several times. Military, every 4 years, we have a rotation of the elected officials, and all of their affiliated staffs. So you get lots and lots of people coming in because of DC. Another major factor is the areas, Northern Virginia, DC, and Maryland also have huge economic development organizations within their municipalities, meaning those are the governmental organizations that are actually going out and saying to the big kids on the block, like Amazon or Google or come work where we are. And there's, the hidden secret there is, we want to attract folks to come here because of taxes and numerous other things. So particularly in Northern Virginia, unless you've been living under a rock, you're aware that Amazon have a major new headquarters here right in National Landing in Northern Arlington. Many other massive companies have come in as well. Facebook, Google, I think just leased almost 2 million square feet right in the Reston area. About a year or so ago, US Nestle, everything chocolate, established their new Northern American or worldwide headquarters in Roslyn. So lots and lots of organizations are coming in. And then on top of that, you layer great schools, wonderful schools. You layer the transportation, great metro systems, et cetera. All of that transfers over into folks wanting to come into the area. So I think that even when we do have these massive environmental factors like pandemics or the housing crisis, Northern Virginia, DC, and Maryland are still going to do very well, respective.
I think that's a great commentary. I mean, shoot, man, if Nestle can do for this area what Hershey's did for Pennsylvania, I mean, man, I'll be going to that theme park all the time. I love Hershey's Park, by the way.
Yeah.
Amazon, Google, love this stuff. I was curious if Amazon's paused on their construction efforts over there in Arlington. Have you noticed anything? What's going on with that?
I have not, within the last several weeks, I've not seen anything. Although I will say that we were recently driving through North Arlington, right over near the Costco area. And they have broken ground on a major, almost a full city block of construction there. I mean, And one of the other things I didn't really even get to a second ago is the ancillary organizations. So Amazon is coming here, and all the people affiliated with Amazon. Virginia Tech has got a hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even $500 million university expansion within the immediate area of the new Amazon. They're going to be building between 750 and 1,000 new housing units, albeit some rentals, some condos. But just thinking about the other amazing things about the area here, the sporting industry. We've got the Nats. DC United just put a new stadium in. Yeah, exactly. Hey, perfect. They just put a new stadium in, and the wharf is expanding. So we see that it's a pretty dynamic place to live. And when you start adding all of those things up, you start kind of creating the picture of, this is a good place to live. And then that translates directly into the housing market.
Yeah, that's awesome. So translating that to prospective home buyers, and I deal with folks looking to get pre-approved or to kind of learn about the process of buying a home all the time. And lately, I've been hearing a lot of questions about, well, how does this all translate to me? Should I buy now? Should I buy later? Good, bad about this situation as it relates to me as a prospective home buyer. So let me just comment, on a couple of things I've observed. First of all, that supply and demand kind of imbalance that existed that you're referring to before is really still exists, right? There's just a limited supply. There's a limited inventory and a lot of people that move into this area that are looking to purchase. And so even if that imbalance was pretty significant before, it hasn't swung to the other direction. It just has gotten a little bit closer to equilibrium. So we're seeing home values stay strong. We're seeing homes get offers immediately when they're put on the market. And the thing that I like, though, from a home buyer's perspective, is it makes the opportunities a little easier, a little better than it did maybe a month or two ago, because there are a few people that are sitting on the sidelines that have decided not to purchase right now. So the ones who are serious, who are ready, who are prepared, are surprisingly able to find homes now and win an offer that they wouldn't have won just a month or two ago, and get a lower interest rate at that. So one of the nice positive aspects of the current situation, which is terrible in so many ways, is that the interest rate for many people has dropped significantly. So somebody who was looking at a home 2 months ago might have been looking at interest rates of closer to 4% for a mortgage, whereas now they're looking at rates closer to 3%. And for those $500,000-$600,000 homes, starting homes for a lot of folks, that translates into a couple $100 difference per month, and tens of thousands of dollars.
We just finance.
Right. So affordability all of a sudden has gone up. Yeah. So an opportunistic moment really for folks who are ready to buy, to swoop in there, win deals that they otherwise might have had a harder time winning, and get better rates and deals as a result.
Yeah, definitely not a lot of people just dipping their toe in the market out there right now. They're focused, and fortunately with programs like yours, Van, that individuals have done their homework up front, which is really, really good. Well, I'll tell you what, if we can, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say just real quick, that homework, and Bo, this is poignant to you for sure. If you have your ducks in a row, right, and you make that offer, tell us how that changes the dynamic of the offer from a seller's perspective, right? And also just from like managing the whole process, because your job, right, is to make sure everything goes smoothly and gets to the finish line. So how is it different for somebody who's prepared and has their stuff in a row versus somebody who maybe just went on Zillow a month ago and dove into the process?
Yeah, that's a really great point. As a listing agent, one of the duties that is essential is to go out and qualify your top offerers, if you will, with their lenders. To go back and call and make that phone call and say, hey, Van, I'm looking at an offer here from your client, Steve, and I was wondering if you could give me a little bit of information on them. I've actually had a mortgage broker say, oh, hold on a second, and you can hear them rifling through papers, and they almost get back to you like, who was it again? What was that person's name? Because truthfully, there are situations out there where folks are driving down the road, they see a house, they want to buy, and they're going to get in touch with their mortgage broker at that moment. They may not know who they are. They may be assigned, Billy from, Timbuktu, in which they may not really have everything all done, accomplished. So I'm going to hopefully get an individual like you on the other end of the line, who's going to say, oh, Bo, let me tell you about Steve. Let me tell you about Steve and his partner and his spouse, and this is what they do. And I've been working with them for a little while. Their credit is super low. They've got a debt to income, and they've got all their stuff in one sock. You, as a lender, a mortgage broker, is giving the listing agent a tremendous amount of confidence in your client. And I know now that, you could kind of take first blush at looking at several different offerers. You're going to be able to get the basic information. But until you really peel that back and talk to the lender and find out, this lender really knows his client or her client, and they're much better off than other individuals. You have a huge amount of confidence as the listing agent. And quite honestly, that's going to lead you to win more offers.
That's awesome. Yep. Thanks for encapsulating that. And that's one of the primary things I mention to people. Most people think, to win an offer, you just have to have the highest price, right? Offer the highest price. But clearly that's not the only thing that sellers are looking for.
Oh, definitely not. Matter of fact, my girlfriend, Anuzia, and I, you may have seen her walk by in the back of the picture a second ago.
Oh, I thought that was your daughter.
Yeah. Good looking. But she had a client put an offer in, and she poised a great offer letter, put some pictures in up front, really gave a good background of the individual. And ultimately, I think because of the hard work up front, making sure we did that homework, we were able to get the contract, even though there were other offers thousands of dollars above our client, which is kind of a cool way to think about it. I would like to change a little bit of subject there. There's a couple questions that I've heard people talking about specifically for the lender in the mortgage world, and particularly with respect to how the pandemic is changing the way we're doing business. One of the things that I've heard is that the appraisers, when somebody gets a contract, their lender will automatically kick off an appraisal process. When they are doing the appraisal, we'll often hear that it's just doing a drive-by appraisal, and not even going in the home. That actually may have some issues with respect to somebody's ability to overbid on a listing. Have you any input, or have you heard about individuals doing drive-by appraisals?
Yeah, so Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which are the entities that drive the vast majority of loan transactions in the United States, they've relaxed the appraisal requirements a little bit to allow for appraisers just doing their work from the outside of the property and not having to enter it, okay? If there's a reason, however, from the agent's perspective that the appraiser should go inside the home, right? Maybe there's some nuances that they can't observe or know about without entering the home that are important to the valuation. Then that could be adjusted, okay? And we can make allowances for the appraisers to enter. So if there are situations where you, Bo, are concerned that without the appraiser walking through the property and recognizing maybe some of the additional space or upgrades that were made to the property, that situation would perhaps warrant, having the appraiser go into the property. It might delay things a little bit, okay? Right. Some of the appraisers don't want to go into the properties right now. So maybe the number of appraisers that would actually opt into that type of an order would be a little diminished. But if you've got the situation that warrants it, certainly that can happen. What I've observed so far, though, is we haven't had valuation issues with the exterior only appraisals.
Cool. That's good. What about your underwriting? One of the other things we found that with certain really hyper competitive markets, people are squishing down the traditional 30 days to maybe 2 weeks or 20 days. And I think that some mortgage brokers are working with their underwriters to have the whole process go through, in which somebody's approved, it's gone through underwriting, everything's good to go, so that they can put in a quick offer. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah. So look, there's different types of mortgage companies out there, and banks offer mortgage loans, different types of institutions. It's important in this market that you work with a lender that has their system set up to be able to close quickly. Okay. I've been in the world of big banks and their lending structure, and mortgage companies, sort of middle tier, and brokers. Everybody's a little different. Some emphasize refinance activity, some emphasize purchase activity, some are built for speed, and some are built for other things, right? Just making mortgage part of their broader business. You want to make sure you're working with an institution that can meet the need for speed, which is critical in this market, okay? One of the things that you mentioned will help you perhaps win an offer, irrespective of the purchase price you offer, is how fast you can close, right? So if you're working with a lender that, gives a great interest rate, or, has sort of a brand, and you've done business with them before, but they can't close quickly, guess what? It's not even worth it. You're not going to win the deal, right?
Yeah.
So you need to make sure you know who you're working with up front. That said, my company, for example, has set up a system where they prioritize purchase business, quite simply. We have a ton of refinance demand because of the low interest rate. So folks who already own a home, and this might be news to the first-time home buyers who are listening to this, right? So I'm going to explain what refinancing is. But if you already have a home and you have a mortgage, you can go through a process of changing your mortgage to get a lower interest rate, or shorten the term of your loan, or taking cash out from the equity in your home by going through a refinance, okay? Folks take advantage of refinancing typically when rates drop significantly, right? So that's happened. And so as a result, a lot of people who purchased homes, 1, 2, 3, 4 years ago are looking to lower their interest rate and possibly even shorten their term to pay off their loan faster right now.
Because a couple of years ago, something under 5 was really desirable.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. And rates are market driven. There's no way to predict where the rates are going to be, a year from now. They're very much market driven, but people can be opportunistic about it and take advantage of lower interest rates when that happens. So anyway, so rates are great right now. Okay, so a lot of people are refinancing their loans, but lending institutions that prioritize purchases basically say, we're going to process a purchase loan first, because that's really our source of long-term business. Relationships with our real estate partners are important to us, as well as understanding that with purchases, you don't have the luxury of waiting 2 or 3 months to close. You have to be able to close in accordance with what your agreement is with the seller. So, as long as you make sure and do your due diligence, with your lender, that they're built for that type of a setup, for that type of speed, you'll be fine. But again, as you said before, relationships matter. Relationship between the real estate agent and the lender matters. Local presence of the lender matters. I mean, love some of these companies that are all online based. I think they've got some interesting models, and I definitely recommend them in some situations. But in the situations where you need to close quickly, and you need to have sort of a flexibility and relationship between the lender and the agent, you're better served in general going with a local lender.
Are you trying to tell me that I may have to get somebody on a phone and talk to a real live body, let's say at 5 o'clock on Friday night?
Well, guess what? A lot of people look for homes on Saturdays and Sundays.
Exactly.
And, in the evenings, and they're looking for a pre-approval letter at like midnight.
Exactly.
You're not going to get those when you're dealing with either a big bank or just a purely online-based system. You want to have the personal relationship. You want to be able to text your questions at times. and you want somebody who's going to be able to work with your real estate agent whenever the need arises to get the offer in and to make sure everything's happening on time.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah. So anyway, so those are some of the nuances. Really, I really wanted to chat with you today to make sure that we address the concerns of first-time home buyers who are, sort of new to the housing game, maybe did not experience things back in the financial crisis days, and are kind of looking at the environment and a little scared, right? And saying, well, should I wait? And what's going to happen to the market? And how does this change what I'm going through?
Yeah.
And really, I wanted to reach those folks today and kind of address those questions, assuage some concerns, and also talk about what the real risks are, right? So, Bo, I'm going to ask that of you in a second. But from my perspective, right, look, the most important thing is financial readiness, okay? You ought to be ready for any scenario once you own a house, okay? Because there's going to be dips in the market, there's going to be corrections, there's going to be recessions, there are also going to be boom times, right? But if you're not financially ready for that, owning a house might be a scary proposition because you want to pay that mortgage, right? You don't want to be in a position where you can't pay your mortgage. We saw a lot of foreclosures and short sales and things like that back in the financial crisis days, post 2009. People don't want to repeat that, right? So how can you position yourself for success? So first of all, you need to make sure that your employment situation is grounded, okay? You shouldn't be buying a house if you're legitimately concerned that you might lose your job, okay? Even if you have your job right now and qualify for the loan right now, maybe you need to make sure that you're settled and stable in that situation first. Second of all, you need to have some cash for the unexpected, okay? If you use up all your cash and purchase a house, you might have the house.
Roof leak.
Yeah, but then you got the roof leak, right? You've got situations you didn't expect. And again, if something happens, maybe you're furloughed or you're out of work for a period of time, you want to make sure that you've got something to lean on in that situation, okay? So I always encourage people, and this is where, Milestone, I think, is a very important, from a financial perspective for everybody, is I encourage people to talk with a financial planner, okay, concurrently with approaching their home purchase, okay? You shouldn't be buying a house independently of having a financial plan, okay? And I'm not pitching a particular planner. I'm even saying use the online tools, Betterment, Mint, other places that at least help you budget and save. But the point being here is that you need to look at a home purchase as your single biggest debt and your single biggest investment. And if you don't have a broader financial plan, you don't have some way to sort of have your life organized and structured financially to get through the tough times, home buying is probably not the best thing for you. What do you think about that, Bo? And what do you think about, sort of the emerging group of home buyers, the millennials, and sort of the folks that maybe didn't experience 2008, 2009? What's your advice to them in that regard?
Well, I think, doing your upfront homework is essential. I continually amazed at the number of individuals I meet who say, I don't have 20% to put down. Well, okay. You may often not need a full 20%, but making sure you have something to move forward is smart. So working with an individual like yourself or a financial planner or whatever is key. I think that what's also great is to get a good understanding of what are the upfront costs to buying a home. Making sure you sit down with somebody and hey, what are closing costs? I have to pay, taxes up front. So you may have a good chunk of money needed for closing costs as well. So all of those are super essential. And I think that getting your pre-planning done, you hit it right on the head, financial readiness and your financial preparedness, home buying preparedness. All of this goes for your future state of having everything set so you can be successful.
And Bo, I've known you for a while, and I know you've owned at least a couple of homes over some time. And look, you've probably been through the good times and the bad yourself. What are some of the sort of expenses that you have after you own a home or you buy a home, right? What are the sort of things that you know, that you had to spend money on that, you know, came out of the blue, or situations where, you know, you were thankful perhaps to have something to lean back on?
Well, one of my most favorite stories actually recently happened. My lovely daughter was taking a bath in our second level bathroom. And you know how you've got the overflow drain in the tub? Well, I guess the water was a little high, yada, yada, yada. Making a long story short, the water was going up in there, but the gasket that was holding that drain to the tub was failed, and that water was going straight down into the ceiling directly over our brand new kitchen and our brand new dining room.
No.
So little things like that can turn into thousands of dollars. I recently did a social media post about flooding in the basement. You have a walk out or a walk up basement stairs. Most of the time you're going to have a drain down there that goes to either a sump pump or an exterior drain around your property. A couple misplaced, perfectly placed leaves or some debris on top of that drain, and a torrential downpour like we've recently had, you know, April flowers bring May flowers, or April showers, you know what I mean, can really, you know, flood your basement. So making sure that you do something, and it takes 3 minutes to clean off that drain, saves you thousands and thousands of dollars. Matter of fact, that happened to a good friend of mine, that some leaves got back there and they didn't think about it, yada, 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 about $4,000 worth of damage. So it's everything, all of the above. And there's also goodness there. You also have, you know, the 9,000 projects that your
Yes.
significant other is going to want you to do, and you're going to want to install this, or, you know, change a light bulb there. So those are going to be, you know, hundreds of dollars here, $50 there, that are going to add up. So financial readiness and making sure that you're able to move forward and you're not house poor is smart.
There you go. There you go. Furniture is a big one too. Always. Every place I wind up going to, you know, it's like, all right, we want to refurnish this place, make it a new look, right? All this kind of stuff.
Got to
And
fill the room, right?
you got to fill the room, right? And you think, well, I mean, I'm going to sell all my old furniture and make up pretty much most of it. Doesn't
Yeah.
work like that. So yeah, there's definitely a lot involved there. Well, this is awesome. Listen, we try to keep these little chats on a, you know, weekly or bi-weekly basis, you know, nice and compact and sort of poignant to the needs of the day. Bro, bring us home. Tell us, is there anything else that this week, right now, you want folks to know? Is there anything else that's really sort of significant that you want to get out there? And, you know, bring us home. Tell us what you want our folks to know.
I would like to focus just real quickly on something that we've hit on throughout the whole discussion. If you got to live, if you need to have a place to be, if you are in a situation where you must sell or you must buy, you're not just dipping your toe in the deep end to check out the, you know, hey, how's it going and what are the home values like in the neighborhood. You can still get it done. Market is still doing really, really well. Sellers, low inventory, are able to sell and hopefully make a very good dollar figure on their most, you know, prized possession. Likewise, buyers, rates are very, very low. You can still do it. Of course, you know, the professionals out there, we're going to want to make sure you're doing it smartly, PPE, etc. But during this time, it might be most prudent to work with, you know, experts like Van, your financial advisor, etc., to make sure you got all your ducks in a row. So that if you're, you know, once you're a little bit more comfortable and you're ready, you can make a smart decision. You can be able to move forward with your best foot forward.
Awesome. Love it. Bo, always enjoy talking to you. And I thank you for really looking out for the interests of the consumer, right? And really paying attention to that.
You too, Van.
Awesome. Awesome. And you have a great weekend. And folks out there, thanks for watching. And we'll be back in front of you again soon.
Take care.
Have a great one.